Hello and welcome back to the Exist Better YouTube channel. I wish this video was coming to you under better circumstances, but I wanted to throw together a few core ideas in this video in light of recent world events and just kind of talk about like what the individual's role is in all of this and what it can be for you and what I feel like it is for me. What leads up to events like this and what is the core thing that is being overlooked and what is the collective responsibility. So why we're going to be talking about why things happen like this on a global scale and why, not who's to blame. Okay, this isn't about blame. We all know that when someone does something destructive, they are to blame, right? The people who are doing destruction are to blame for the destruction. But there is a whole chain of events that have to take place before this, before the destruction, before the war breaks out, before innocent people have to die. There's a chain of events that takes place within society. And when those chain of events are not prevented, we end up with catastrophic situations, and we can see this throughout history. This completely ties back to the individual's clarity and their ability to see what is happening and interpret it in the outside world, see what's happening and interpret it correctly. The more individuals we have who are incapable of doing that, the faster society goes down the drain. So here are some of the general things that society is currently lacking and many individuals are currently lacking that is causing so many terrible problems. 1, many people, if not most people, cannot recognize a pattern, a social pattern, an emotional pattern, patterns within individuals, historic patterns within particular cultures. So when we lack this pattern recognition, and even if you're not that much of a cerebral person, a lot of times this pattern recognition will come from your intuition. So you'll just like look at something and know that something's off about it. So intuition is like the shortcut. So we have that as lacking in many people. The second thing, which I've mentioned before, is we have a codependent narcissist relationship between citizens and their government. This has extreme implications because when you have a society of individuals who are all trained to be codependent, they must, by definition, look to be controlled by another, right? So we have a society of codependent individuals. They must, by definition, find a narcissist who can lead them. So we see this in America, we see this in Russia. The degree to which we need that type of dysfunction in the leader is the degree to which we are codependent, right? So we look at somewhere like America, okay, we've got Joe Biden. A lot of people don't like Joe Biden. I don't personally like Joe Biden. But when I compare him to what obviously Russia's got going, obviously I would rather have Joe Biden because the level of dysfunction there is probably not as bad. Using an obvious example like Hitler, these individuals always garner a following. Why do they always garner a following? Nobody ever really talks about this. They garner a following because each individual within the culture is codependent and cannot distinguish reality for themselves, right? So some people like to complain nowadays about how like no one has any critical thinking skills. I would go as far as to say that it's deeper than critical thinking skills. It's because I've seen plenty of people with good critical thinking skills, in my opinion, be completely fooled and completely unable to see what's going on in the outside world. So to say that it's critical thinking skills, I think it goes deeper. I think it's, again, this pattern recognition thing, looking at the events of history, even deeper than that, it's just basic intuition and being emotionally connected to your reality and being able to sense what is happening in it. I have almost never met anyone who is fully doing this all the time. It's, I'm obviously trying to do it. I work with people who are obviously trying to do it and doing their best at it. But when we look out at the general population, people are not doing this. They are not connected. They gaslight themselves constantly. They reject their intuition constantly. And as a result, by necessity, this is just basic cause and effect, by necessity, they have to fall prey to a predator, right? This is actually something that Jordan Peterson talks about, right? He would always say it's good to be dangerous. I don't really like that interpretation, but basically to be naive is the worst thing you can be, right? To be codependent, to be naive, to be unaware, to be completely out of touch with your own shadow, as he has said, it puts you on a path of destruction. It has to. Because the fundamental belief within an individual like this is, I cannot trust myself, and so I look to the outside. Until this stops happening, and individuals grow out of this and grow into true adulthood, the extent to which they will not grow out of that is the extent to which they are going to be victims of or perpetrators of totalitarian regimes or things of that nature, right? Destroyers, destructive forces. So obviously they're innocent victims of this. If you're in close proximity to a destructive force, you are at risk for being harmed by that destructive force. So you're either the perpetrator of it or the victim of it, or sometimes both. We have examples in history where everyone voted someone into power and then that person just goes ahead and destroys everyone's life for fun, right? How on earth could you not see that coming is a great question. This is the same reason we ask questions like, how could that woman keep getting herself into one relationship after another with an abuser? How could that guy keep settling for these jobs where they just treat him like total shit? How does he keep stumbling into that situation over and over and over? Because he has not fully reckoned with it yet. He hasn't faced it head on and gone through whatever process needs to happen to create a literal transformation. So what we're seeing right now is we have cultures that are having this same issue. They have not gone through the process of individuating themselves. And so what happens is they all get together, right? As Carl Jung has talked about, and research has actually demonstrated this, that when you get people in a group, the larger the group becomes, the more each individual in it is willing to give a wrong answer to a question. So, if you have, they've done studies on this. So if you have people in a group, you're asking each individual in a line, what is 2 plus 2? And let's say the first 5 people say that it's 5. That 6th person might know that the answer is 4. But he is highly likely to switch his answer due to the pressure to conform. Now, if we did that study with a bunch of individuated people, that pattern would disappear. So let's pretend that research study is real life, because it is. What we have happening is we have a string of people, theoretically, sitting in a row, and the first few are very confident and very wrong, and then the next bunch follow. And then we make a decision based on that. So it's falsehood built upon falsehood. We take action from there. We build and create reality, all on that foundation of falsehood. And the loudest and the most confident narcissists are the ones who everyone believes. They are the exact shadow of real power. So a lot of people, when they say real power, they get offended, they get afraid, they immediately want to tear it down. Someone like Gandhi or something. Like if you look at all the most powerful people in history, a lot of them were murdered, attacked, thrown in prison. That's what tends to happen to real powerful people. What happens to the shadow of that, the least powerful and the most narcissistic and insane, is they're put on a pedestal and they're given all of the resources. So if that's maddening to you, the only thing that you can do with that information, this is important, when people are saying like there's these world catastrophes happening and I'm not going to say there's nothing practical you can do. Like, yes, donate money, donate time, donate whatever the hell you want. Do that for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, there's only really one thing you can do to prevent catastrophes, societal and global catastrophes. And that is to make goddamn sure that you are not one of those people in line who are nodding and giving a thumbs up to destruction because you're obligated to do so. Make damn sure that you've done all of your shadow work and you face the deepest, darkest shit in you, so that when someone who is loud and ignorant and destructive comes up to you and says, "Follow me," you say, "Fuck off." And you don't even have to have any emotional charge to that. It doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be a rebellion. It doesn't have to be a protest. It's just a no, because my power does not lie in supporting your control. This is what Nazi soldiers did not know. This is probably what Russian soldiers do not know. They do not know that their power does not lie in supporting some idiot's control. So the cycle will repeat itself until someone, either that individual or someone in their bloodline, chooses to learn. So that's the whole thing I wanted to say in this video, is that when we're looking at like, why doesn't humanity progress? Why doesn't discrimination go away? Why does war and poverty keep happening? It can often be traced back to the simple fact that many, many, many individuals were unwilling to learn. They were unwilling to go through a messy learning curve. And so they'll pass that on to their children. And if their children don't have balls either, they won't do it either. And it'll go on until someone says no more. So that's my invitation to you today. Be the one that says no more. That's all you can do. You will probably notice this sort of pattern, this narcissist on a pedestal, and all the codependents keep feeding them energy. You may notice this pattern in your life. It may be very subtle. It may not even be an actual destructive terrorist type person. It's probably going to be very subtle. Someone with a very subtle power dynamic over everyone else. And it's just technically wrong, it's false, it's not rooted in anything other than narcissist, leader, codependent minions. That's the pattern. So when you see that pattern in your life, know that it is an opportunity for you to make a choice to end that pattern for you. And what happens is, as soon as other people start to see that you can make that choice, everybody wants to make that choice. You're just the only one with the balls to do it. So be that 10th person in line who refuses to say 2 + 2 is 5. It's 4. It always has been. It always will be. And if people want to persecute you for the truth, that's what they're going to do. That's how history works. At the end of the day, I know that I will not be able to look myself in the mirror if I weren't an individual. If I didn't choose authentically, if I didn't say the truth, it'll stick with me and it'll ruin my life. So if freedom is a core value of yours, if authenticity is a core value of yours, you're gonna want to get yourself into this practice of standing up to the regime, no matter how mild it is. Doesn't even have to be confrontational. But if we do not do that, and we continuously, generation after generation, choose not to do that, we will end up in situations where we have given tons of ammunition to a murderer, and then innocent people will have to deal with the consequences of that. And that is the unfortunate reality we are in right now. And that's it. So, on a more practical note, I am going to leave a link down below in the description. If you want to donate to a Ukrainian charity or cause, feel free to do that. I will see you next time.